Is that side stick control the same as the Airbus series? Ah, we've got audio. Hurrah!
Whee!
Wonderful.
Now we've lost Carlos.
Yes. Sorry about that, folks. It's been one of those nights, but I'm not going to blame BAIT completely. But they're in there somewhere, aren't they? So, and now we were doing really well, but now we've lost Carlos. So I hopefully will hear him. By the way, if you're on the chat room, can you tell us whether you can, if Carlos plays, can you tell us if you can hear it? That would be handy. When he plays it again. Oh, yes. Thank you, Richard. That's good.
Hello. Right. So everyone can hear us. Everyone can hear us, and we're all good. And
yes,
everyone's tiggity boo.
Yeah, and the title music can be heard as well.
Right. So if we're all ready,
but we can't.
I'll get a beer while you're doing the title.
We can't see you at the moment. I don't know if that's a problem.
Oh, can't you?
No.
Oh, hold on. How about? Hold on. Bear with me. How about now? How about now?
Yes, there we are. Yep.
Isn't it refreshing, eh? Well, to be fair, this is the first run of this new setup. But anyway, right. If we're all ready, shall I hit the go button?
Do we get overtime?
Yeah, we get overtime.
Lovely.
Don't panic. Right, here we go. Fade is coming down. Here we go. We're hitting play. Oh, for good Lord. Right. There we go, that's better.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3.
Episode 528 of the BT or BA sponsored Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carlos, and in this episode this week we look at another IT meltdown with BA, which is come over here as well. Someone at Qantas has been a right tool, and Ryanair are getting punchy. In the military news, we're looking at B-52s. They're as big as a whale, and normally at this point, I'd be introducing on for Matt Smith live from the Master Suite studio, but he's had to go out and see a man about a dog, so God help us without him at the controls, because yes, I am in control this week on the show. It's a bit scary. So, hello everyone. Oh, blimey. Good evening. Oh, are you right, Nev?
Yes, I am. Pleased to be here, although I feel as though I've been here for some time, but we've not had audio for very long. But so you're in the new garage studio, aren't you? So, but couple of tweaks needed here and there, I would say.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So no, it's all good. Thank you. Hectic week so far for me. It was down at XL Centre in London today, where it was extremely cold. Met a few people down at the show down there, and then more normal rest of the week. But next week is extremely hectic. I've got 4 flights next week to Edinburgh and Dublin, so there's every chance that something could go wrong depending on what the weather's doing and what the BA IT boys and girls are doing. So looking forward to doing a bit more flying next week. Good to be back on the show, even though we're slightly late.
Oh, I know. Thanks for that, Nev. Thanks for letting everyone know. Thanks for everyone for joining us as well, but not forgetting to introduce another special member of our team. He's back this week, and he's been busy working hard, as he does every week. It is, of course, the amazing Captain Andy.
Hello.
You all right?
Nice to be back. Yeah, it's been busy. I wasn't on last week, was I?
No,
I was on the week before. No, I was playing in the simulator last week. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, it's good to see you back. So how are things in the sim? Have you been doing the writing the courses, or you've been flying the courses, as they say?
No, I was being tested myself last week.
Oh.
And then next week in the sim, I'm instructing. So Nev's doing more flying than me next week. But it's nice to be back.
Yeah, it's good to see you back as well. But have you done any interesting flights recently at all?
Nope.
No sunny destinations?
Nope. I've done no flying, mate.
Oh.
Been too busy doing other things.
Oh. Well, I'll have the sim set up in here soon, Andy. You'll be able to come home and fly a real sim. My volume up.
Yes, could you turn your volume up a bit, Carlos? It's a bit quiet for the other end.
There we go. Is that better?
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
We'll find out.
We'll
See
find
what
out
they
later.
say.
Is that better? Hopefully it'll be better.
It might be. Yes, it is.
Oh, good.
Good.
Excellent. Yes, you can come over here, Andy, and have a go at flying the sim. I'm yet to set it up, but it will be going just here, hopefully, and you'll have a nice big 42-inch screen to watch yourself on.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
I know. I can't wait. Right. So, Nev, you've got the chat room in front of you. Can you say a big hello to everyone in there? Because I've got sort of 50 screens here, but not enough to put the chat room on.
Just don't touch anything at all, mate.
I won't.
Whatever you do. So, yes, thank you very much to all the chat room for joining us. So we've got Mazuz in there, Richard Adams, Hobby Time, Dirk S, Richard Flagg. Hopefully see you next week, Richard, I think, up in Scotland, if you're up there. Captain Cruise, yes, Dirk S. Darren Smith, of course, being helpful as always. Bill, hello Bill, hope you're well. Tom Hathaway, hello Tom, nice to see you in the chat room, thanks very much indeed for taking part. And Colin McCallum as well, so and Masha too. So my apologies if I've missed anybody out there, but really appreciate everybody joining us tonight. The green screen is not working in Carlos's new studio at the moment, so he'll fix that. Ready for next time, I'm sure. But thanks to everybody for joining in the meantime.
Yeah, so we've got loads of news to get through this week on the show. Plus, we've got Caption This and also our retro airline ad of the week, which is quite a nice one this week, actually, Nev. It's a bit of a nostalgic look back at the early 1980s. So, so if all the team is ready, shall we do some commercial news?
Yes,
Let's
please
do it.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
Anyway, this week's first story comes from the Australian Aviation.com, something I'm pretty sure that Andy wouldn't like to find in one of his engines on the Airbus. Qantas A380 flew 34 times with a tool left in the engine. A Qantas A380 flew 34 times with a 1.25 metre nylon tool left inside one of its engines, the ATSB has found. The tool used to turn an engine compressor on Victor Hotel Oscar Quebec, India, during borescope inspections is believed to have been left inside during routine maintenance on the 6th of December 2023. It was not found until a scheduled maintenance check at LAX on the 1st of January 2024, almost a month later. Despite having flown for around 294 hours with the tool inside, there was no damage found inside the engine, though the tool itself was deformed by high energy airflow, according to the ATSB's final report. The tool had reportedly been left inside the engine inlet by an engineer who believed it would be needed later in the maintenance, but later engineers did not notice it, and despite a missing tool report being filed, it was not found until the engine was again inspected as part of a scheduled maintenance in Los Angeles. The ATSB investigation found that maintenance engineers did not notice the tool had been left in the engine's low-pressure compressor's case when conducting checks for foreign objects and completion of the borescope inspection tasks, said the ATSB Chief Commissioner Angus Mitchell. Further, maintenance engineers did not commence the lost tool procedure once the tool had been identified as missing, and the certifying engineer released the aircraft for service with the tool and accounted for. Foreign object debris and damage, as we all know, can pose significant threats to the safety of operation of aircraft, which is why regulations, procedures and training are in place to limit the risk of foreign object damage, especially from introduced objects during maintenance. Correctly applying tool control is fundamental to mitigating against human errors that may arise. Following the discovery, Qantas Engineering briefed staff on the importance of ensuring tools are returned and actioned by store personnel, and also launched an internal investigation that led to the new safety directive about complying with tool control requirements. The airline said that with the turning tool, a piece of flexible plastic had no effect on the engine's operations, and they had cooperated with the ATSB probe. They said, "We take this extremely seriously, and while there was no damage sustained to the engine, it's critical that the correct lost tool procedures are followed," a spokesperson said. Since the event, we issued an internal safety directive to our engineers and tool store team members to adhere to the processes to ensure this doesn't happen again. Well, this could have ended slightly different to how it did, didn't it?
I think congratulate them for doing 34 sectors with it in without a problem.
Well, fortunately, it's in a part of the engine that it's not going to cause any problems. So I don't know if you can put the picture up, Carlos.
Yeah,
but
I've got it here. I shall stick that on. Here we go.
The stator vanes that it sort of flexed against are behind the huge turbine at the front, the low pressure turbine. So from then on, apart from those stator vanes, there's nothing there. It just exits the side of the engine. So fortunately, it wasn't in a critical part of the engine, but still, and the pressure that's been applied to that as well just through the air bending, it's phenomenal, isn't it? So yeah, as you can see in that picture there, it's just clean air that flows through, which does provide most of the thrust actually, but there's no moving parts there that can cause any real issues. The big problem here is their process. And the second they realised that tool was missing from that aircraft, that aircraft should have been grounded until they found it. But thank goodness it was in a place that wouldn't cause any real issues.
Yeah, and I wonder what happened to the guy who left the tool in there in the first place.
Well, to be fair, he filled out the report and said he'd lost the tool. So I guess it's the process after that.
Mm. Yes. I did actually look online when I found was doing some pictures for this story, and I trying to find a picture of the tool they use. And when you type it in online, there's not really a huge. I mean, there's pictures of various items that they use, but there's not really a picture that shows of a tool they use for rotating the blades. But so I don't know what it looks like exactly.
Long and white
and made of plastic.
Nylon, yeah.
Yeah. And it's still not a good thing to have in the engine, though. But
No, any foreign body's not a good thing to have in an engine.
Mm.
It's just very fortunate where it was.
Right, Nev, you've got the next one, and moving to the UK, where BA are having a spot of bother.
Yes. IT and technical issues. Surely not. That's never happened before. Neither at BA or our show, obviously. It's on theguardian.com, and it says a technical problem has caused hours-long delays on British Airways flights on Monday evening. Flights were continuing to take off, but an IT issue affecting communication systems caused some flights to remain grounded. A spokesman for the airline said, "Our flights are currently operating, but are experiencing delays as our teams work to resolve a technical issue affecting some of our systems." BA later said that they had resolved the issue, saying, "We've apologised to customers for delays to their flights and ensured that they were able to reach their destinations as planned." Heathrow spokesman said the technical issue impacting British Airways has now been resolved, and our teams remain on hand to support British Airways to help passengers on their way as quickly as possible. Media reports earlier in the day suggested dozens of flights were unable to take off, with the travel journalist Simon Calder predicting cancellations into Tuesday morning. He wrote on X, "British Airways IT system failure is causing delays of 1 to 2 hours on many BA flights this evening. As delays build up, I fear there will be cancellations tonight/tomorrow." Earlier in the day, one traveller posted a photo of people queuing on the tarmac in Verona, commenting, "What has happened to the nation's airline? Not fit for purpose." Another passenger posted BA 535 stuck on the tarmac at Naples. At least he said that, or he or she said that it wasn't stuck on the runway. Pilot hasn't received load sheet and is unable to communicate with Heathrow as internal phones are down. A second person wrote that the carrier's app was not loading and showed a message that the page was in high demand, whilst another posted, "Pilot said system is now fixed, but there is going to be a big delay." He had suggested we'll be sat on the plane for 1 hour before departure. Live departures on Heathrow's website showed delays of up to 1 hour and 25 minutes at Terminal 5. Well, there we go. I mean, with all my flying with BA, I think I'd chalk that up as a win, a 1 hour delay. To be honest with you, it's normally Euro control or a bit of weather going on somewhere. But I was hearing information about load sheets, the automation of load sheets having problems. Andy, what about doing manual load sheets, or is that just not done at all these days?
I'd be surprised if they didn't have a backup system where they could do it digitally. We use an Airbus system called FS Plus that we do all our own load calculations. I always find it fascinating and frankly a bit scary that BA pilots get them printed out and just go, "Yeah, okay, cool." I'd rather do it myself, to be honest, to be sure, and double check it with the other pilot as well. But if they don't have that facility, then you can go back to paper. Paper still exists. Those charts are pretty tricky and quite complex to use. So I guess they didn't have that option if they just couldn't do anything. But I don't know about BA, but I wouldn't like to be put in that situation. But like you said, an hour delay, that's not too bad for BA, to be honest, in normal times.
I would take that, definitely.
Yeah.
Did you see the error message, Nev, that there was on some of the apps, the BA apps?
I didn't, no.
No, I'll show it. There we go.
Well, should have used Android.
Oh
dear.
Oh,
dear, that's very poor. I reckon someone's photoshopped that on there, Carlos.
I don't know what you're saying, Nev.
I mean, you know, we do take the mick
Okay,
out of BAIT a lot, and it's quite a regular occurrence now. But the trouble is the schedule is so tight, especially the short haul or short to medium haul operations, but definitely the short haul stuff. There's just no room for manoeuvre at all. So if something goes wrong, whether it's weather related or crew related, there's just not enough headroom in the system to allow for that at all. So when you start to pick up delays, then it's really is a bit of a snowball effect, and it's almost impossible. Well, you never make it up during the day probably. But it's quite a big moment. So even though the flight time is published from London to Edinburgh as 1 hour 25 minutes, and they normally do it in an hour, that 25 minutes gets eroded extremely quickly when there's ground issues or comms issues or whatever it is. So that just builds up throughout the day, which is why BA and other airlines sort of cancel short haul ahead of time when they can see that this is just going to be building up into a real problem. But it's one of those things, and we kind of learned to live with it now.
Didn't BA update their app not so long back, Neville? Did they not have a refresh of their app?
Oh yeah, there's always a bit of update going on, but a lot of people are always complaining about they can't log into the website on the app, and even on the PC or their Mac, same story there as well. But I've not found a problem recently, I must say. But I've not been flying for the last couple of weeks, so I've not been having to check it. But next week could be a different story, so we'll see how we get on then.
Yeah, there'll be another 1,000 Nev's passenger experiences next week, so that'll be good fun. Yep. Andy, you've got the next one, and we're going back to Ash.
Yes, I really do hope we get a terminal tantrum next week. That'll be very nice. This one is from aerotime.aero, and airlines cancel flights to Bali due to ash from erupting Mount Luatobi. Several airlines around Asia have cancelled flights to and from Bali due to dangerous volcanic ash caused by the eruption of nearby Mount Luatobi Laki, leaving travellers stranded at airports in Australia and Indonesia. According to the European Commission Emergency Response Coordination Centre, Mount Luatobi Laki, a volcano on Flores Island in Indonesia, has erupted a couple of times since November the 3rd, 2024. This has resulted in 9 deaths and the forced evacuation of 11,445 people living close to the crater. The volcano is in East Nusa Tenggara province, roughly 500 kilometres from Bali. Ash clouds greatly reduce visibility in the region, affecting flight routes and create unsafe travel conditions. As a result, Qantas, Jetstar, AirAsia and Virgin Australia have all halted flights for safety, local media outlet ACD reported on the 13th of November. Qantas issued a flight policy for passengers with valid tickets for flights to and from Denpasar Airport in the Bali area between November the 13th and November the 22nd, 2024. Additionally, on November the 13th, Jetstar announced in a statement that all Jetstar Asia flights to and from the airport have been cancelled or delayed until the following day. Due to volcanic ash caused by the eruption in Indonesia, it is currently not safe to operate flights to and from Bali, the carrier said. This is an evolving situation, and we recommend passengers check their flight status before coming to the airport. AirAsia was also impacted by volcanic ash from the eruption. The carrier announced that some flights operated by AirAsia Malaysia, AirAsia Thailand, AirAsia Indonesia, and AirAsia X Malaysia to and from Bali, Lombok, and Labuana Bajo have been cancelled or rescheduled since November the 4th. Virgin Australia also announced necessary adjustments to the flight schedule following the eruption. All Virgin Australia flights in and out of Denpasar have been cancelled from November the 13th, and according to the carrier, as of that date, the eruption has already affected 15 flights. Tourists informed the Associate Press that they have been stranded at the airport since the day before. The general manager of the airport said that the volcanic activity has disrupted flights since the eruption began, and in the last 4 days, 84 flights were impacted, with 36 planned departures and 48 expected arrivals. It is very dangerous stuff to fly in volcanic ash.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remembering this. Here we go. Pop the picture up on the screen there. This particular aircraft, Nev.
Yes, the 747, and quite a big moment back in the day. 1982, that was Golf Bravo Delta X-Ray Hotel, and that ended up flying through a cloud of volcanic ash near Jakarta. Actually, they did have a flame out of all 4 engines. They did get a couple started, but also I remember that the very difficult for the captain to actually see the runway because the windscreen had basically been shot blasted, and it was absolutely appalling. So he did a very good job under the circumstances, but I think that actually was a big turning point for the industry generally in operating near volcanic ash situations, I would say.
I've actually flown on that aircraft.
Have you?
Yes, when it was transferred to European Aviation because they bought a load of them, and I was on a random charter flight, and it was a 747 down to Toulouse, of all places, Newcastle to Toulouse on a 74200, and it was X-Ray Hotel.
I hope they vacuumed out the engines before.
I hope so as well.
Yeah, I think it went on to have a reasonably long life. after this happened. So.
Oh yeah, it was with BA for a long time. I think it's 2001, and that's when they started to get rid of the classics, and then European bought quite a few of them, and operated them.
In your airline, Andy, do you get training on volcanic ash symptoms and that sort of stuff?
Yes, yep, we've done several scenarios in the sim in past years on symptoms. I mean, the first thing you'll probably see in light ash really is the EGT increase quite significantly on the engines as the veins start to get clogged up. Basically, it melts in the engine and turns into glass essentially and starts blocking things up. So you start to see the temperature rise rapidly before you start to see anything else. We can also simulate in the sims the shot blast effect on the windscreens as well, which is quite interesting. When you try and turn the wipers and nothing happens, and it feels like, have I got my glasses on? I'm not sure. The vision's very blurry. So yeah, we can do lots of things, and we quite often do it.
Yeah, great.
Talking about those sims, Andy, did you see they released Microsoft Flight Sim 2024 this week?
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah. Which has upset a few people because it needs a bit of fine tuning apparently. Plus, you've got to pay quite a few pounds to have the privilege of having it at home as well.
Oh, really?
So,
I mean, if I started playing Flight Simulator, I think my wife would divorce me because I'd be flying at work and then flying at home as well.
Oh dear. Yeah, we'll sneak you in here at some point. Yes. Right, next it's the success.com Spirit. Most of you will have heard this week about Spirit Airlines. Flight to bankruptcy has no emergency exit, according to the headline on this. Throughout this year, Spirit Airlines kept assuring investors and customers it had a recovery plan, and bankruptcy was not on the itinerary. However, after a federal judge blocked Spirit's acquisition by JetBlue in January, those reassurances have begun to unravel, sending the low-cost carrier into a steady downward spiral. Had the deal gone through, JetBlue would have become the fifth largest airline in the US and could have started Spirit's recovery from its massive debt much sooner. Instead, Spirit Airlines shares dropped dramatically following that verdict. Months later, a new glimmer of hope emerged. Spirit Airlines was banking on a last-ditch merger with rival Frontier, with the two carriers reportedly revisiting plans to join forces. But Frontier has now walked away from that deal, leaving Spirit's future hanging by a thread, sources tell the Wall Street Journal. Now the carrier is preparing to file for bankruptcy and is in negotiations with bondholders to finalise a plan that would gain majority support from its creditors. Spirit has been struggling in an increasingly cutthroat market for a while now, and in recent months has been pulling out all the stops to stay in the game since the summer. Spirit has been cutting jobs, selling off jets worth millions, and in October, regulatory filing, the airline revealed it had identified about $80 million worth of cost-cutting measures. But all that proved to be insufficient, and the inability to secure investors or significantly boost revenue has been a glaring deal breaker. Spirit has also felt the impact of ongoing crackdowns by the Department of Transport and the Biden administration on airlines' so-called junk fees. These regulations force Spirit to halt cancellation fees and change fees in May. Hidden fees and yield pricing tactics have long fueled the success of low-cost carriers like Spirit, Ryanair here in the UK and Southwest. Opaquing pricing and add-ons often disadvantage customers who aren't savvy enough to navigate them, while more knowledgeable customers tend to benefit from the extras paid by others. One such tactic has managed to slip through the cracks is the practice of charging extra for preferred seating. Airlines like Delta, American, Frontier, Spirit and Allegiant have all jumped on this method, offering passengers the option to pay more for seat allocation. The move has sparked controversy, but for airlines it's an effective way to drive additional revenue. Unfortunately, it's left many consumers frustrated, remembering a time when a single ticket included all onboard amenities without any extra charges. This is something which many airlines used to let you request for free, said Chris Gray, a deputy editor of UK-based consumer magazine, which, who told CNN, now being charged for it is irritating, he said, especially for families who are told they need to pay to select seats to sit together. These new concerns have clearly caught up with Spirit, whose service no longer holds the same appeal for US travellers. It's a matter of evolving consumer preferences that the airline has failed to address effectively. In today's market, exceptional customer care is a top priority, and passengers expect a seamless, hassle-free experience from check-in to arrival. Airlines now offer rates based on the entire travel experience from the moment passengers walk into the airport. Now is the time for urgent caretaking for Spirit. The carrier just inked a deal to offload 23 of its older Airbus planes to GA Telesis for $519 million. On top of that, they scored an extension to refinance a massive $1.1 billion in debt. Spirit has filed for Chapter 11, a type of bankruptcy that will allow the airline to continue operating while it reduces its debts. Ouch. So,
Well, I think we saw this coming when we had the story 2 weeks ago about them desperately offloading pilots.
yeah.
And I think the American market is oversaturated at the moment, and Spirit hasn't been able to become Southwest Mark II. Everybody loves Southwest, and it just hasn't worked for them. And the merger with JetBlue was the only thing that was going to save them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you either do it like Southwest or better than Southwest or not at all, really, don't you? I would imagine. Yeah, very, very difficult. And the low-cost model generally, there has to be clearly has to be a demand for it, and unless you're filling the planes at with the right revenue factors, and unless you're offering customers something a bit different, even if they have to pay for it and they like it and they enjoy it, then that's something. But trying to make it a differentiator, I think, is a real problem, especially when there's probably overcapacity in some of these situations. So, let's see what happens next.
I was trying to think in my head how many low-cost carriers they have in the US. Because obviously in the UK here, I mean, we've got EasyJet and Ryanair are the two.
Ryanair's not a UK airline.
Oh, really? What? Because they're Irish. They
do have a very small UK subsidiary, but it's an Irish airline.
Okay.
And Wizz Air has some G-registered aircraft as well, I think, don't they?
Yeah. I think Lauda have got a few G-registered as well. But the biggest UK low-cost carrier is EasyJet.
And you got in the US, you've got Spirit, Southwest, and who else? Is any other big players in the low-cost?
The others have gone, really. Frontier was taken over by Alaskan, wasn't it? And all the other smaller airlines have been taken up by the big legacies. A lot of them are all feeders for them now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, hopefully the pilots will all find a job somewhere if anything does happen. I mean, they say about a pilot shortage. I mean, if Spirit, anything did happen with Spirit, I mean, hopefully there's places for all these pilots to go.
I don't think there is a pilot shortage in the US. There definitely is in Europe, but I don't think there is in the US.
They'll all have to come here then, Andy, and join you.
Good luck to them.
Right, Nev, you've got the next story, and I think we covered this not so long back, didn't we, about this particular interesting...
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say this, but there was a bit of an inevitability about this story, I think. It's on the BBC website. It says, Europe's flying taxi dreams falter as cash runs short. One of the innovations at this year's Paris Olympics was supposed to be an electric flying taxi service. Germany's Volocopter promised its electric-powered two-seater aircraft, the VoloCity, would be ferrying passengers around the city. It never happened. Instead, the company ran demonstration flights. Whilst missing that deadline was embarrassing, behind the scenes a more serious issue was playing out. Volocopter was urgently trying to raise fresh investment to keep the firm going. Talks to borrow €100 million from the government failed in April. New hopes are pinned on China's Geely, which is in talks to take an 85% stake in Volocopter in return for $95 million of funding, according to a Bloomberg report. The deal could mean that any future manufacturing would be moved to China. Volocopter is one of dozens of companies around the world developing electric vertical takeoff and landing, eVTOL aircraft. Their machines promise the flexibility of a helicopter, but without the cost, noise, and emissions. However, faced with the massive cost of getting such novel aircraft approved by regulators and then building up manufacturing capabilities, some investors are bailing out. One of the most high-profile casualties is Lilium. The German company had developed a radical take on the eVTOL theme, and Lilium's aircraft uses 30 electric jets that can be tilted in unison to swing between vertical lift and forward flight. The concept proved attractive, with the company claimed to have orders and memoranda of understanding for 780 jets from around the world. It was able to demonstrate the technology using a remote-controlled scale model. Construction had begun on the first full-size jets, and testing had been due to begin in early 2025. As recently as at the Farnborough Air Show in this July, Lilium's COO Sebastian Borrell was sounding confident. "We are definitely burning through cash," he told the BBC, "but this is a good sign because it means we are producing the aircraft. We're going to have 3 aircraft in production by the end of the year, and we've also raised €1.5 billion, but then the money ran out." Lilium had been attempting to arrange a loan worth €100 million from the German German Development Bank, KfW. However, that requires guarantees from national and state governments, which never materialised. In early November, the company put its main operating businesses into insolvency proceedings, and its shares were removed from the Nasdaq Stock Exchange. For the moment, work on the new aircraft is continuing as the company works with restructuring experts to sell the business or bring in new investment. However, getting the new E-Jet into production is looking more challenging than ever. The high-profile British player in the eVTOL market is Vertical Aerospace. The Bristol-based company was founded in 2016 by businessman Stephen Fitzpatrick, who also set up OVO Energy. Its striking VX4 design uses 8 large propellers mounted on slim aircraft-style wings to generate lift. Fitzpatrick had made ambitious claims about the aircraft, saying it would be 100 times safer and quieter than a helicopter for 20% of the cost. The company has made progress, but after completing a program of remote control testing, it began carrying out piloted tests earlier this year. Initially, these were carried out with aircraft tethered to the ground. In early November, it carried out its first untethered takeoff and landing. But there have also been serious setbacks. In August last year, a remotely piloted prototype was badly damaged when it crashed during testing at Cotswold Airport after a propeller blade fell off. In May, one of its key partners, Rolls-Royce, pulled out of a deal to supply electric motors for the aircraft. The biggest problem area is where it comes to the cost of operation is the pilots and the batteries. You need to charge the batteries a couple of times per year, they point out. Given all the uncertainty and expense, you might wonder why investors put money into new electric aircraft in the first place.
I like the pilots are the biggest problem, along with batteries.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack in that article, and I can just hear Neil Cluffley of Faraday Aerospace in my ear at the moment, just going, "Yep, absolutely not surprised." And if you remember at the show we did at Brooklands, one of the things that you mentioned a lot was regulation and standards and all the rest of it. And this is a massive problem. And these things, certification for this sort of stuff takes a very, very long time. And in some cases, the book has not even been written on it.
Yeah.
So they're having to go, on the hoof a little bit at this stage. A bit like with, the drone operations, when we were in Ireland earlier this year in March, we heard on many occasions that the regulations were having to keep up with it. Well, they were falling behind the technology because the technology was advancing at such a speed, they couldn't actually write the rule book quick enough.
And when new rules, I spend my actual job is dealing with regulation all of the time. And when it comes to new regulations, the amount of work that's involved, because ultimately regulations are there to cover the backside essentially of the regulator, So when it comes to new things, like current regulations have been progressing over the past 50, 60 years to where we've got them now. But with new things in the modern world, with the way health and safety is now, the margins are going to be so much tighter, and that's where the problem's going to come. These things have to be reliable immediately if they want to start commercial operations with them. And the batteries are not there yet. Clearly, the manufacturing in some of these cases where prop came off is not there yet. There's still a lot of work to do, and you're going to have to pump billions of pounds, dollars, euros, whatever you want, into producing a highly reliable eVTOL aircraft that you can then put out to market. And that is not going to happen in a couple of years. It's just like the whole hypersonic thing, wanting to go back to supersonic flying. I don't believe in their timescale. It's just not going to work. Concorde took decades to get off the drawing board. And it's going to be the same there. People need to adjust their expectations massively. And I'm going to sound like an old man now, even though I'm only 39. We live in a world now where everybody wants it now, but we need to just slow down and develop things properly.
Not only that, it's quite a footprint as well, isn't it? This thing. It's not the smallest thing to park somewhere.
The whole thing about a flying taxi, yeah, but you still need a helipad to land the thing on. You're not going to put that down in a street in London, are you?
Sorry, Nev, you were going to say?
No, I was just thinking of the Concorde simile that Andy just said. I mean, that was developed in the mid to late 50s, really, and the first flight, wasn't until, or the first commercial flight wasn't until 1976. So,
and its first actual flight was 69.
Yeah, that's right.
And, huge gaps. And even though we've got better technology now, the regulators will still want all of the same testing done.
Yeah, and until, again, back to referring back to Neil's presentation that he gave at Brooklands, lithium-ion batteries and thermal runaway and all that business, with all the fire crews trained for it and all the rest of it. These things do have a habit of going thermal and then relighting 3 or 4 weeks later. So there's so much work to do in this area, and this is why Neil's company has gone down a completely different route, because and he did say actually on the day, he said if people are telling you that it's ready next year or the year after, he said no, it's not. It's not even close to this stuff.
Now, Andy, you've got the next story, and we're moving over to a brand new freight carrier.
Yes, this is from robrukia.com, and it's Ukrainian Supernova Airlines launches its first commercial flight with own aircraft. Last Sunday, that's November the 10th, Supernova Airlines flew its own Boeing 737-800 aircraft on a cargo charter flight from Budapest to Chisinau for the first time. The flight allowed for coordinating and inspecting procedures and processes for delivering shipments to recipients in Moldova. The next step is to test the transit of goods to Ukraine using road transport, the company emphasized. In addition, Supernova Airlines plans to further develop the route network and gradually increase the number of flights to meet the needs of both Nova Group companies and external customers. The airline is preparing to open regular flights to the USA, has an operator certificate issued by the DASU and EASA approval for non-European carriers. The process of obtaining permits for flights to the USA is currently underway, the company emphasized. It should be noted that on October 17th, Supernova Airlines, part of the Nova Group, received the European Union Aviation Safety Agency, EASA's, permission for flights to Europe. That's from Part TCO, which is necessary for non-European airlines. This means that the company will be able to make commercial flights in the sky of the European Union, and the final preparations for which are currently underway. The Supernova airline, under the flag of Ukraine and with Ukrainian registration marks Uniform Romeo November Papa Alpha, successfully completed its inaugural flight on September the 18th, 2024, using its own Boeing 737-800 SF aircraft. The flight was part of the certification process, one of the last steps in adding the Boeing 737 freighter type to the operator's certificate approved by the State Aviation Service of Ukraine. It was good to see another operator and another 800 converted freighter as well. They're getting popular now.
Sorry to move.
Yes, they are, aren't they? Yes.
No, I do. Is this a Boeing converted freighter, or is this? This must be a converted, wasn't it?
Yeah, because Boeing. Yeah, SF.
Oh,
SF.
Is it SF? Yeah.
Yeah, because BCF stands for Boeing Converted Freighter, whereas this will have been done elsewhere.
Yeah. But they are a good. I think is it West Atlantic? They got 737s as well, haven't they? I think it's
West Atlantic were the very first people to get the 800 converted freighter. I think that was a BCF.
Yeah.
But it's good to see, even in the depths of, they're in a bad place, Ukraine, at the moment, but there's still development going on and airlines being set up. That's good.
Good livery as well. You're not going to miss that in the sky, Andy.
Well, at night you still would.
Well, at night.
I'm just bothered about seeing red light, green light, and white lights. That's all I'm bothered about in the sky. So I can work out which direction it's coming and going.
Right, Nev, you've got the next one. And it's a Ryanair story just for a change.
Well, it is, but it's all about gnats, really. And this is actually a press release off of Ryanair's own website. So it's obviously slightly biased in their favour, but it'll be interesting to see what it says. It says that Ryanair, the UK's #1 airline, on the 14th of November, called on new Transport Minister Louise Haigh to take urgent action to reform UK's hopeless ATC service after the CAA today published its final report on NAT's ATC system collapse on the 28th of August 2024, which confirms inadequate contingency measures. NATS claim that there is operational contingency available to allow safe service to continue through the ability to input flight data manually. Yet the CAA now confirms that there were 7 manually operated terminals available for data entry on the day of the ATC system collapse, but NAT staff were not trained to enter flight plans. It also says that NAT staff not rostered, NAT's engineers not available on site due to the bank holiday, and they took more than 1.5 hours to arrive on site. NATS failed to take action. NATS took 4 hours to escalate the system failure to manufacturers, who were able to fix the issue in 30 minutes. But why were NATS so slow to react? It also says that NATS failed to notify stakeholders. Despite the systems failing at 0832, NATS did not notify Eurocontrol until 10:43, leaving its customer airlines, passengers and airports to find out about the NATS collapse from Sky News and BBC Television. Whilst Ryanair welcomes the CAA's findings and comments that NAT's system collapsed caused considerable distress to over 700,000 aviation passengers and resulted in substantial costs to airlines and airports, Ryanair rejects NAT's claim that it has acted to address the number of findings arising from its own internal investigation after the incident. After NAT's system collapsed in August 2023, NAT CEO Martin Rolfe falsely claimed, they say, that it was a 1 in 15 million tech glitch. Yet 3 months later, on the 9th of December, the Gatwick ATC system collapsed again, delaying hundreds of flights and thousands of passengers travelling to and from Gatwick. This was followed by repeated NATS staff shortage in summer 2024, causing more avoidable disruptions to airlines and passengers throughout the UK. Ryanair's Michael O'Leary said UK Transport Minister Louise Haigh must now take immediate action to fix NAT's hopeless service and reform UK ATC so that airlines and passengers can avoid further delays and disruptions at the hands of NATS. She should start by sacking NATS overpaid and underperforming CEO Martin Rolfe and get someone competent to reform and run the UK's ATC services. Now, this is obviously written in Ryanair's press release, so it's their take on it. And yeah, it was definitely a problem. But I don't know. I'm not an ATC expert in the slightest, and I'm sure that there are areas of mitigation that they have in there and areas of contingency, but also that NATS probably will have learned from this as well, to try and find better ways of giving a better service to their customers. So
I would hope so. I got this report in my inbox because I'm signed up to CAS certain mailing lists, and I read through it, and it's quite long. Ryanair does have a point about not enough controllers, but just like pilots, it takes a long time to train controllers. And if some are off sick or, retired early or whatever, it's very difficult to fill the gaps. But they do need better contingency procedures. But this is a lot of hyperbole from Ryanair, isn't it? It's very inflammatory, classic Michael O'Leary talk here.
It's what you'd expect from the fella, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But when Gatwick falls over, it properly falls over. There's no middle ground.
I have to say, we've been lucky enough, haven't we, Nev, to visit up the top of the control tower at London Heathrow a number of times. And watching those guys work, they do a fantastic job at Heathrow in the tower there.
Yeah, I think the thing is, though, there's probably a world of difference between the operations side of it and actually what goes on in the background with systems and flight plans and all the rest of it. And if they have a big moment, then that's a big problem, isn't it? Really. And of course, if there's I can think of many ATC moments over the years where even with Eurocontrol or something like that, it's been a real problem and everything just stops or gets delayed or gets cancelled. One of those things. The trouble is we're used to everything running on time as far as possible. And for the vast, if you think of the number of flights that operate just in the European area, a lot of them get away and are off blocks on time and get to the destination on time. But with weather and other stuff going on, obviously does play a part in it, doesn't it?
Still amazing. Yeah, sorry, Andy. I was just going to say, it still amazes me now when you look at Flight Radar 24 and you look at Europe, even now, just looking at Europe, the amount of flights that are currently in the air over Europe is phenomenal. Still baffles my mind.
To be fair to Nats as well, a lot of delays in the summertime are not down to them. It's normally down route somewhere. The summer this year, there's always issues down the Greek islands because there's too many flights rostered trying to get in some airfields that only have 7 stands. And if one gets delayed, then it causes a delay for everybody else. Then you have capacity issues through Germany where there aren't enough controllers. So it's not just the UK that has these issues. It's all the airspace throughout Europe.
Any particular airport that is a struggle to get in, Andy, when it comes to packed flights?
Delays? Any of the Greek islands in the summer.
Okay.
Because they are so limited on apron space. If one flight's delayed, then that just causes a knock-on to every other flight during the day that's meant to use that stand. It's as simple as that, which people don't get to see when they just get told, yeah, we've got an hour and a half delay because of capacity issues. It's because a flight from Finland was delayed in the morning, which has knocked on the flight from Germany, the one from Italy, and then whichever other aircraft's coming in behind. It's such a huge, complex system.
Is there ever a case, Andy, I mean, probably not because of fuel, I expect, but is there ever a case where you're flying into one of these Greek islands and you're told by ATC that you've got to kind of loiter around for 20, 30 minutes because there's no space for you to get in?
No, they try and stop that through the slot system so that you don't even get airborne.
Okay.
Yeah, not down to Greek. Once you're airborne, I've never had a delay actually into an airfield down there. To some of the bigger places, yes, but not down there.
Just a example of a delay. In fact, just my colleague this morning from work, he always seems to pick up a delay, this fella, and he always tells me all about it. But he said Humberside to Amsterdam this morning, delayed boarding because a crew member didn't turn up on time. That's meant we've missed the Amsterdam landing slot. Sat on the ground waiting for pushback, and it starts to snow. Now we have to de-ice, but one crew is going over hours, so you have to swap them out. As he says, joys of being an international man of mystery, which is his title we give him.
That's the joys of air travel as well.
Yeah,
it's a very complex thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about joys of air travel, be interesting to see your take on this, Andy. This is from paddleyourown.canoe.com. And a headline, feels sorry for the flight attendants. Iberia's new A321 XLR long-haul jet features tiny galleys that even contortionists would struggle to work in. So Spanish flag carrier Iberia will make history on Thursday when it flies the new A321 XLR single-aisle jet on a long-haul flight between Madrid and Boston for the first time with commercial passengers on board. Capable of flying 7,500 kilometres, Iberia is launching, or the launch customer of the longest range single-aisle plane in the Airbus family. And if you hadn't already guessed, the XLR stands for extra long range. We all knew that. In fact, the A321 XLR is able to fly around 15% further than the A321 LR, which is already used by several airlines for long transatlantic flights, including JetBlue. And despite the additional range and potential for the longer flights, Iberia has just taken an interesting approach to kitting out their A321 XLR compared to single-aisle transatlantic operators like JetBlue. On the surface, there are plenty of similarities. Both Iberia and JetBlue have equipped their long-range 321s with 4 lavatories, fully flat seats in business class and other modern amenities like free in-flight Wi-Fi, as well as USB-A and USB-C charging. There are, however, some key differences that JetBlue has opted for more premium configuration with 24 Mint class seats and 114 economy seats, though the entire aircraft, in contrast with Iberia, has just 14 business class seats and 168 seats in economy, with the vast majority enjoying just 30-inch of pitch and several that offer no recline for overnight long-haul flights. Despite all the extra passengers that need to be served on Iberia's A321 XLR, the airline has made an interesting choice when it comes to the galley, from where the flight attendants will be preparing and serving food. Unlike JetBlue, which has decided to retain a traditional full-size galley at the rear of the 321 LRs, which takes up the entire width of the plane, Iberia has opted for Airbus's space-saving solution dubbed Space Flex, which halves the size of the galley. The space at the back of the aircraft is shared with 2 lavatories, meaning that the flight attendants will need to set up the food and beverages services in the same space where passengers are queuing to use the lavatories. The SpaceFlex galley and lavatory concept has proved incredibly popular in recent years with operators of the A320 family, although that's based on the fact that most operators are using these planes on short-haul flights with limited onboard services. Even on shorter flights with limited onboard service, flight attendants will tell you that working in a Space Flex galley is a constant challenge, which to additional challenges a SpaceX galley will represent when flight attendants are trying to prepare a full long-haul style service for up to 168 passengers remains to be seen. Iberia has, however, only had the A321 XLR in its fleet since October the 30th and has so far only flown the aircraft on a handful of short-haul flights from Paris and Stockholm as part of the crew familiarisation activities. In other words, don't be surprised by potential teething problems with the onboard service, especially in economy class. And interestingly, Airbus say it will be evaluating how different airlines configure the plane's interior to make improvements going forward. Now, I've got pictures here of said galley. I'm going to pop that up on the screen there now if you want to have a look. There we go, Andy. What do you think of that?
So, this is misleading, the title. The galley isn't any smaller, right? The space at the back of the plane is exactly the same. It's just where those 2 toilets are, you would have more canisters and more trolleys. So I get the point. It must be really difficult. And also those trolleys, by the way, there's another one behind them. You can fit 2 trolleys in at a time. So there's 6 trolleys there. So you could put 12 trolleys in and a load of canisters instead of having the 2 toilets there. But they removed the toilets, which if you're looking at the galley here would be behind you, to put another row of seats in, essentially. So yes, there's not a great deal of bench space and trolleys, which must make life difficult for them. But the actual space available is not that small. It's just you'd have to tell passengers to queue in the aisle. But it mustn't be nice for them, especially on a long-haul flight on one of these things. So an interesting choice. But originally these were destined for Aer Lingus, weren't they? Not Iberia.
Yeah, it'd be nice to speak to a member of the crew.
Did Aer Lingus have a union discussion?
I think there was a dispute. I think would be the the phrase? Yes.
Yeah.
So IAG decided to be spiteful and give these to the Spanish.
Yeah, I mean, when I've retired, I will take a A321 XLR flight somewhere to do a review. I think we'll see what that's like.
My goodness, that'll be a full episode.
Oh, that's a week's worth of content right there. Yeah, I've not flown single aisle at all on any long distance. I've certainly not been on a 7.5.
No,
back
me
in the
neither.
day, so
Not over 6 hours. I haven't done.
no.
I mean, I don't
single
know
aisle.
how deceiving the picture is, but the spacing doesn't look too bad with that economy seating there.
Well, I think that's a nice wide-angle lens there.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to plan.
Actually,
We'll have to plan that, Nev, at some point.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about operating in a normal short haul, European operation that BA do with just the regular 320s and 321s. You've got folks queuing up for the loo, getting in the way of the crew trying to serve meals and the rest of it. And it's a bit chaotic. It's sort of some sort of like aerial ballet that has to go on to move people in and out and all the rest of it. So on the longer sectors, that's going to be even more challenging. But yeah, let's see how it happens. I mean, I'm fascinated by the advance in technology that allows us to do these long range single aisle operations across the North Atlantic and other places as well. It's fantastic. But from a practical point of view, there's bound to be some refinement and some changes as the airlines get to grips with it. So let's see what happens.
Now, Nev, you've got the next one, moving over to the US and back. Oh, no, Andy, actually. You've got this one, Andy, sorry. Over to the US and back with Boeing.
To my favourite manufacturer. This is from simpleflying.com. Boeing delivers only 14 aircraft in October and warns of further production delays after strike. Boeing has outlined that it will take weeks for the company to restart the production of 737 MAX, 767F, 777F/777X, and the military derivatives of the 737, the P8, and the 767, the KC-46A, as it will resume building aircraft in compliance with its safety management system. SMS. In a statement to Simple Flying on November the 13th, a Boeing spokesperson confirmed that the company will safely and methodically resume production of the 737, 767, and the 777 in Washington and Oregon. It will be several weeks before we fully restart aircraft production as we take the necessary steps to reactivate in full compliance with our safety management system. No, I replaced airplane with aircraft because airplane is not a correct word. The representative added that the company is focusing on safety and quality during the resumption of production processes, with the company assessing potential issues, creating plans to address them, and making sure worker certifications are current. The strike, which began at midnight on September the 13th and ended on November the 4th, when the two union members approved a new contract, with 59% of machinists voting to accept the tentative agreement. As a result, the 33,000 striking machinists had begun to return to work on November the 6th following the 52-day strike. During the month, Boeing had secured 63 gross orders. This included the Aviation Solutions Group order for up to 80 737 MAX 8s, which was announced on November the 12th, and LATAM Airlines buying 10 787-9s, 5 of which will be powered by the GE Gen X, and 2 unidentified customers committed to 6 737 MAXs and 7 777Fs. The year to date, Boeing has 378 gross orders as of the 31st of October, with 97 assigned to unidentified customers. Other notable orders throughout the year included American Airlines' 85 737 MAX aircraft, Qatar Airways adding 20 additional 777Xs to its backlog, and other orders the manufacturer booked through the Farnborough Air Show in July. During the company's Q3 earnings call, Kelly Ortberg, the president and chief executive of Boeing, detailed that once the strike ends, the company will have the task of restarting its facilities and the supply chain. And it's much harder to turn this on than it is to turn it off. Our safety and quality management system will guide us through the restart, and we have a detailed return to work plan in place. And I'm really looking forward to getting everybody back and getting to work on that plan. Ortberg added that another critical area was the implementation of its safety and quality plan, which the Federal Aviation Administration reviewed. The plan will be part of the criteria used to measure the stability of our production system, which is necessary to gain authority to increase 737 rates. During the curl, Ortberg said the company was still determining when it would return to the 737 production rate seen in September, noting that it would take a couple of weeks to get everyone back at the facilities, including recertification and retraining efforts. At the same time, Spirit Aerosystems issued a warning on November the 5th, saying that there was a substantial doubt about its ability to continue operations due to continuous liquidity shortages. Spirit Aerosystems warned that while its management was exploring additional strategies to continue operations, there could be no assurances that this would result in liquidity improvements. On November 11th, Spirit Aerosystems entered into two separate agreements with Airbus and Boeing, with the deal with the former being a memorandum of agreement to provide a non-interest-bearing credit line of up to $107 million, which will be used as advance payments for Airbus-related aircraft parts. Meanwhile, Boeing, which aims to fully acquire Spirit Aerosystems by mid-2025, committed to paying up to $350 million to the supplier in the form of advance payments to be repaid in 4 installments in 2026. Now, is it just me, or should this just be standard operating procedure for an aircraft manufacturer where they shouldn't have to go into this depth of having to safely and methodically resume production?
Well, of course, you're right, I think, absolutely. But of course, there's the temptation would be to rush things because of the commercial side of it, and we all know what happens when that occurs. And also, of course, the problem has been is that Boeing have not had not had the right level of oversight from the FAA previously, so they are being extremely careful here. But this is only going to delay production even more. But obviously, the safety of the aircraft and the passengers and the whole operation is absolutely paramount. They cannot afford to have any more big moments of the two that they had with the MAX aircraft. And I think that the scrutiny is going to be absolutely massive here. And this is why they're looking to dig deep into pockets or looking for other forms of funding as well, because this is just all going to cost money. And as they say, you just can't switch the production line back on and sort of to leave off to restart where you left off.
Do you? Sorry, it makes you. Sorry, I was going to say it makes you wonder whether Boeing will ever catch up with their backlog, because they've got.
Do you think the US government would ever let them go bust?
Oh no.
No, I don't. No.
Do you think it could become nationalized or just heavily subsidized?
It's a good question. The problem has been, and I'm not. This is a politician's answer coming up here, so I do apologise in advance. But Boeing manufactured aircraft have got an incredibly good reputation over decades of production quality. They've had these moments, and problems have been identified in the production process. And this has resulted in 2 hull losses of 737 MAXes, plus other incidents as well. And I think out of an abundance of caution, they are just doing whatever it takes to make sure this stuff gets off the production line, operates safely, and can be signed off by the QA people and the airlines that are operating them. From a government point of view, I think they would do whatever it takes to keep the manufacturer going under any circumstances, I would say.
Looking from an airworthiness point of view as well, somebody would have to take over, because if they went bust, somebody still has to be able to provide airworthiness for all the airframes that are currently still out there, and there's thousands and thousands of Boeing aircraft around. So yeah, that'd be interesting. I just thought I'd ask the question, see what you think.
And next week we'll be running a happy story about Boeing.
Really?
Possibly. You never know.
I'm not on the show next week, so good luck with that.
Okay. And finally, last story comes from paddleyourown.canoe.com.
Are you able to cut to your camera, Carlos?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I am.
Just
Yeah,
showing a
there we
picture of
go.
me, which is not great.
You do look stunning, Mr. Bones.
No.
Passenger plane grounded after 130 hamsters escaped from cages and evade baggage handlers for several days. Wow. An Airbus A321neo aircraft belonging to TAP Air Portugal, or TAP, was grounded for several days at Ponta Delgada Airport in the Azores after a horde of as many as 130 hamsters managed to escape from their cages in the cargo hold and went missing inside the plane. The incident occurred after TAP flight TP1865 arrived at San Miguel, the largest island of the Azores, which is located in the North Atlantic Ocean, around 1,500 kilometres west of mainland Portugal. The 4-year-old aircraft departed Lisbon at around 10:30 p.m. on November 13th with a shipment of hamsters as well as ferrets and several birds, which were destined for a local pet shop, Portuguese language diary newspapers reports. Upon arrival of the aircraft, just 2 hours later, baggage handlers opened the cargo hold and quickly spotted a hamster running loose. They quickly discovered that the cage used to transport the rodents was damaged and the vast majority of the hamsters had all escaped. While ground workers were able to quickly trap most of the errant hamsters, some remained on the loose and the plane had to be grounded until they could all be found. Rodents are a particular safety concern for airlines as they can chew through sensitive wiring, which could result in serious issues. And by Saturday, the aircraft, Charlie Sierra Tango Juliet Romeo, remained grounded because 16 of the hamsters were still missing. But by Sunday morning, the aircraft had been cleared again to fly and had already returned to Lisbon. A scheduled early morning flight from Ponta Delgado to Lisbon had to be cancelled on the 14th of November because the aircraft was grounded, and it will be interesting to see whether TAP Air Portugal tries to get out of paying, the European EC261 deny boarding compensation to passengers on the grounds. The hamsters represented an extraordinary circumstance. That would certainly prove to be a fascinating court case to watch unfold, and no doubt consumer advocates will argue that it's the responsibility of the airline to ensure that the boxes to transport the hamsters are secure and met international freight standards. In September, a Scandinavian Airlines flight from Oslo to Malaga was forced to make an emergency diversion after a mouse jumped out of a passenger's food tray and started to scurry around the cabin in front of stunned passengers. Passengers on board the Airbus A320 reported that there wasn't much panic, but it wasn't long until the captain came on to the public address system to tell them that they would have to divert due to a mouse posing a safety risk. Really, Andy? The aircraft ended up diverting to Copenhagen, where the aircraft was taken out of service and a replacement jet was organised to take the passengers onwards to Spain. Now, I've got some pictures here, actual pictures of the incident. We've got the first one here, which was quite a nice one. There we go. Little picture of the aircraft there. And another picture, which was actually taken in the whole of the aircraft. You can probably see there. If you're watching in YouTube, you'll see the aren't they lovely? I mean, why won't you let them run free? And then we have another picture here, which was taken as the hamsters were deplaning here. There we go. Put that on the screen. If it'll work. No.
Oh, it's a shame. I was looking forward to seeing that one.
Typical. There we go. VMix is having an off day today, I think.
That hasn't worked either.
No. Never mind.
No. Well, as I punch my mouse there we go. It's on the screen.
Oh, dear.
All that effort for that.
So,
now,
Andy,
sorry to interrupt. It's not clear from the story though. Where did they find all the hamsters?
Well, they will certainly have perished because I'm sure it'll have fumigated the airframe.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
If you can't find those last 16, you're not going to strip the whole airframe down.
Oh. That's
They'll have just gone to sleep.
Oh, Andy. Oh.
I'm sure your cats bring home worse.
Not yet, because they're not allowed outside.
Okay.
But I don't doubt they will do when they eventually do get left outside or let outside. So, yeah.
And
looking
on
forward
a
to that.
fly-by-wire aircraft, the last thing you want is something that can chew through said wires. Yeah, not good.
I'm guessing, Andy, you've never had to divert because of an unruly rodent.
No. That's one thing that's not on my bingo card of reasons for diverting.
Oh, dear. Honestly, well, that was a nice little last story to end on. Now, moving on. Nev, what have we got coming up next?
Well, it's Retro Airline of the Week, Airline Ad of the Week, sorry. That's one of my favourite segments of the show, actually. Well, this week we're going back to 1987 and to an airline that Captain Jeff knows all too well. And looking at the advert, things at airports were so much more relaxed back then. Smiles just about everywhere.
The people at Delta Airlines love to fly.
Hi! Where are we going today?
I'm going to grandma's.
We better give you a grandma's tag.
There's a difference when you're flying with someone who's really trying, someone who shows how much they care, someone who makes it look so easy.
Excuse me, can you front load?
Someone who's really glad you're there. We love to fly and the feeling grows. We love to fly and it shows.
A smile, a tone of voice, the ability to do it, and a willingness to try. When you love to fly, it shows.
We love to fly and the feeling grows. We love to fly and it shows.
That was horrific. The only good bit about that advert was the TriStar. I mean, seriously. Oh, I've enjoyed so many of these, but I didn't enjoy that one.
Oh, well.
Sorry.
Andy, comments?
I was 2 years old when that advert came out, so, you know.
It's a different time than in airports.
That's all I've got to say, yes.
Richard Adams in the chat room says, looks like a trailer for Airplane. Yeah, true, I suppose. Actually, I watched that the weekend. I actually put that on the weekend and watched again. But what's Dirk S saying in the chat room? Ryanair, we hate you and it shows. Thanks for that, Dirk. Right, moving on to the next part of the show. And it's time for some military news. So if everyone's ready?
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
17 bogeys, 135, 50 Angels, 60.
Don't forget to swap back to you.
340. Okay. 108 bogeys.
No, I won't forget, Andy. Don't worry. Don't panic. First story this week, UKAviation.news and B-52s return to RAF Fairford for European Bomber Task Force. Now, if you follow Jonathan Warner on social media, you would have known this anyway because he's been busy taking many pictures this week of various aircraft and around. 4 Boeing B-52 Stratofortresses have been deployed to RAF Fairford in Gloucestershire as part of the latest European Bomber Task Force by the United States Air Force. The aircraft will operate as the 20th Expeditionary Bomb Squadron, taking part in exercises together with NATO allies and other international partners to test and hone NATO's cooperation and to ensure commitments again across the region. The aircraft flew in from Barksdale Air Force Base, Louisiana, before arriving at RAF Fairford, and the air crews integrated with the Finnish F-18 Hornets and Swedish JAS-39 Gripens. General James Hecker, Commander US Air Forces in Europe and Air Forces Africa, said the Bomber Task Force mission exemplifies our unwavering commitment to our European allies and partners, and together we build stronger and more strategic relationships and reinforce security and stability across the region. Through these missions, we not only demonstrate the global reach of our bomber forces, but also the strength of our collective partnerships in Europe, ensuring we remain agile and ready to address any challenge, said Hecker. Our ability to work side by side with allies is a key advantage, sending a message of assurance to our friends while also deterring potential aggression actions by strategic competitors. Whilst in the UK, the Bomber Squadron will be supported by the airmen of the 501st Combat Support Wing, which is based at RAF Fairford. And the Boeing B-52 Stratofortress is US Air Force's long-range nuclear-capable strategic bomber, as we all know. It first entered service back in 1955 as the B-52B, and through upgrades and improvements has become the B-52H. The current raft of aircraft have been in service since 1961. In total, 744 B-52s were built, including production and test models, of which 102 are the current B-52H model. Further upgrades are planned to the engines in partnership with Rolls-Royce, and the 8 turbojet engines on each aircraft will be replaced with the F-130 turbofans and will be designated the B-52J. Honestly, if you've ever seen one of these up close and personal, which I've been lucky enough to, they are a hell of a sight to see. I don't know if you've seen one of these, Andy, up close.
Oh, yeah, I've been up close. Yeah, they're full of creases, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're full of wrinkles because they're very old now.
What are you trying to say?
They're beautiful aircraft.
Yeah.
I've seen them at Fairford before. Very nice.
Yeah, didn't we see one of these, Nev, when we were over at Pittsburgh for the air show back in 2017?
I think we did. Quite smoky, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Awesome.
Yep.
And,
imagine trying to retrofit one of those with electric engines. That's not going to work, is it?
No.
That would not work. Just like a load of JT8Ds hanging under each wing.
Oh, proper engines.
Proper engines, yeah. Andy, moving over to Bulgaria.
Well, this is from BulgarianMilitary.com. Yeah. But Denmark commits to delivering 13 more F-16s to Ukraine soon. Danish F-16s have begun arriving in Ukraine, with the Royal Danish Air Force delivering the first batch of 6 advanced fighters. This was confirmed by Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen during a joint press conference with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Frederiksen has also revealed that an additional 13 F-16s are slated for delivery in the near future, underscoring Denmark's continued commitment to bolster Ukraine's aerial defence capabilities amidst the ongoing conflict. In her statements, Frederiksen emphasised that the delivery schedule remains on track, with the training of Ukrainian pilots on the F-16 platform progressing well. The training process has been challenging, but we've made significant strides, she remarked. We are moving forward according to the plan, and the second and third batches of aircraft will follow in due course. The steady flow of F-16s represents a pivotal step in enhancing Ukraine's combat capabilities as it looks to expand its air force with NATO-grade assets. Ukrainian allies have taken a historic step with the provision of F-16 fighter jets to strengthen its air force. Denmark and the Netherlands stand out as key donors, with the Netherlands promising 42 aircraft and Denmark 19. Of these 61 jets, at least 7 have already been delivered, including the first 6 from Denmark and 1 from the Netherlands. The remaining aircraft are expected to arrive in phases by 2025, with additional countries such as Norway also joining the effort through donations and pilot training. In addition to the fighters, partners are providing missiles, spare parts, and maintenance equipment, with Denmark and the Netherlands contributing hundreds of millions of euros towards the effort. Training the Ukrainian pilots is taking place at bases in Europe and the US, but the process requires time due to the complexity of transitioning to Western standards. The first Ukrainian crews are already operational, marking Ukraine's transition to modern air defense capabilities. However, challenges remain significant, from adapting infrastructure to the ongoing Russian threats against the bases housing these aircraft. Allies, however, remain determined to support Ukraine with advanced aviation that can counterbalance Russia's air superiority. The F-16 fighter jets delivered to Ukraine from Denmark are of the F-16 Alpha Mike and F-16 Bravo Mike variants, which are upgraded versions of the basic F-16 Alpha Bravo Block 15. One of the key features of these aircraft is the upgraded AN/APG-66V2 radar, which provides improved detection of both airborne and ground targets, including the ability to process multiple targets simultaneously. The F-16 Alpha Mike Bravo Mike variants are equipped with modern avionics, including multifunctional displays in the cockpit, which enhance situational awareness and ease the management of complex combat scenarios. The flight control system, or the DFLCS, Digital Flight Control System, has also been upgraded, offering more precise control and increased stability in critical situations. The self-defense system has been enhanced with the use of the AN/ALR 69 electronic optical threat indicator and the ALE 47 missile countermeasure systems. Power for these aircraft is provided by the Pratt & Whitney F100 engine, which delivers up to 11,500 kilograms of thrust and allows for a top speed of around Mach 2.1. This version is also equipped with an in-flight refueling system, significantly extending its operational range and flexibility in combat operations. The sensor package of the delivered F-16 includes upgraded night vision and targeting systems, which enables high-resolution target identification even in low visibility conditions. This system enhances strike accuracy and minimizes collateral damage. All of these features make the delivered F-16s a capable and versatile platform, one that can significantly contribute to strengthening Ukraine's air defense and increasing its operational capabilities on the front line. So many acronyms in there, I don't even understand half of these systems.
For an aircraft that first flew 50-odd years ago, it's doing damn well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I mean, we talk about the aircraft capabilities all the time, don't we, in the military? But operating these aircraft in real combat situations, I mean, the training must just be phenomenal with all of these new systems. I don't know how the pilots have got the headroom to take it all in, especially when you're in a dangerous situation yourself. Must be incredible.
Yeah, and you're not being trained on these with maybe going into active service. You're being trained knowing that you're going to take these into a theatre of war. Must really up the ante.
Yeah.
If you were given a chance, Andy, to have a go in a military aircraft, sit in the back and have a flight, would you like an F-16 flight? Just a question.
Yeah, I'd give it a go. I just want to see what its performance capabilities were, really. I'm not bothered about all the fancy equipment. I'd just like to lob it around the sky a bit.
Any of our listeners listening to the show are F-16 pilots, just give us a call or give us an email, drop us an email. Andy's willing to drop in and go up for a flight with you.
Yeah, these are all fly-by-wire things, aren't they? Yeah, I'm quite familiar with that. That's fine.
So you actually, you quite like talking about military stuff, Andy. You're quite a fan of RIAT, if you had a chance to go before. Obviously you have.
Yeah, I've been to RIAT several times. I like to go and watch them lob about in the sky. Like I say, I'm not really that interested in all of the details around it. I think they're fantastic bits of equipment, and most of them are quite pretty aircraft as well. I do like the heavy transport stuff, because that's more like commercial aircraft.
Yeah, I miss the days of Farnborough, don't you, Nev?
Well, yeah, it's not the Farnborough that it used to be, is it?
No.
Really, for us, that's for sure. But there we are.
Yeah, it's a shame. Right, caption this just for fun time again this week. We popped a picture up on social media earlier in the weekend for you to comment on. Safe to say it definitely sparked a few comments, Nev. I don't know what your thoughts were, being the AV and tech genius that you are, what your thoughts are on this particular picture this week.
Absolutely brilliant. Have you got it to hand?
I am. I'm now going to pop it up on the screen there for those of you watching in the world of YouTube. There we go. Nev, what are we looking at here for our
all
audio
those
listeners?
CRT monitors back in the day that used to sit on top of the PCs, and we had so many in offices that I've worked in over the years, and they are very heavy. They're also very front heavy, I seem to recall, as well, when you're lifting them around. So, but now this is a real sim setup by the looks of things, but with CRT monitors with those huge necks on the tubes. The only good thing about those was that the black levels were very, very good, but the rest of it was, not so good. Of course, the problem is with those, you could actually get burnt into the tubes, the image, if it was stationary for a long period of time as well. So but there it is. So a retro looking home sim setup. And
now I have to admit, back in 2002 I had a similar setup to this. Not as many CRTs, I think I had 3, and I had that exact yoke, the CH yoke, and those rudder pedals as well.
No.
Yeah. How old was I then? 17, 18? Yeah.
I'm just trying to count how many PCs are running this. 1, 2,
I think there's 5 running it.
4, 5. Yeah.
5 or 6.
Yeah, there's 5 towers plus a couple of desktops by the looks of it. So maybe 7 in total, possibly. But yeah, amazing.
Right, so Nev, kick us off with the first comment on the picture from our
Yes,
socials.
well, our listener friends were not shy. Kevin says, after years of problems with modern technology, Boeing has decided to go back to the basics.
Oh dear. Steve says, what is the G key on which keyboard to raise the gear? Oh, Control-Alt-Delete. If in doubt, Control-Alt-Delete. Andy?
Yeah, Mazouz says, what do you mean I need a surge protector?
Sean says, literally flying a desk.
Oh, my word, yes. Our good friend Alan White. Thanks for this, Alan. Always appreciated. Carlos's new studio. All of the monitor donations greatly appreciated. Yes, thank you, Alan.
Tom Hathaway. Nev accidentally hits the time travel button on his new car and travels back to Carlos's house in 2002.
Oh, that's harsh, but fair. Our chum Neil Draper says at the grand opening of the new Boeing Innovation Centre.
James Grace Brown, the original full motion simulator, he says.
John Falk, what do you mean my eyes now look like a fly's eyes?
Very good.
Paul says, plainly a Vulcan wannabe, reference to the sheer amount of windows on the Vulcan flight deck. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Our good friend Dirk says Deutsche Bahn is helping out in current flight sim capacity shortage by offering their latest hardware for the aviation industry.
Another one from Mazouz. Welcome to London Norwich Air Traffic Control.
Oh, don't upset them guys, Mazouz.
Staying in East Anglia, John Pickard says National Grid offer a man from Norfolk his own power substation to cope with the drain on the network.
And someone who's literally just got back from Vegas, Matt Caton, says Carlos's simulator set up in his kitchen. His missus is not happy.
Mike Jones says PTUK push on moving people over to Blue Sky.
Ah, yes. Quite a popular topic at the moment.
That is.
John Pickard, finally, management of a low-cost airline denying that training systems are outdated. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much to everybody for superb contributions there. I wonder if we've got any in the chat room as well.
Have a look on the chat room. One from... here we go. One from... obviously, Captain Cruz has obviously needed 6 engines, CPUs, so must be a AN225 simulator. You've got, is there one there from...
There's Richard Adams. Adam reckons that his remote Heathrow Tower version 1.0 may still need some minor tweaks.
And I think, Nev, you need to take the next one.
Yeah, Darren, of course, BAIT department takes control of all aircraft at Heathrow.
I do like Richard's comment as well. There's no need to heat that room.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine plug sockets you'd need for all that, honestly, for all that setup in there.
Oh, brilliant.
I mean, that's a hell of a lot of, I mean, what? How many monitors? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 or so monitors, 6 keyboards.
That's a lot of white 4-way blocks all plugged into each other and a single mains connection into the wall.
That's basically what my office at home looks like now.
With a cable, now, Nev, imagine that cable management.
Oh, can't even look at it. Can't even look at it.
No.
It's awful.
Right, so we are going to start to wrap up, but first, Nev, where can our glorious listeners find out more about us online?
Yes. Absolutely. So if you're on the socials, Facebook, X or Instagram or LinkedIn, just search the social media platforms for Plain Talking UK. And you can email the show at podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. The website, of course, is www.planetalkinguk.com. We're also on YouTube, of course, and that's where we're broadcasting tonight. We eventually got around to doing it. So if you want to search us out on there, just go to youtube.com, and all the previous episodes are available on there, along with some specials as well. You can become a Patreon on of the show as well, and also give us some money by PayPal if you would like to and are able to. This helps us with the
Training,
media hosting costs, website costs, and maintenance of the studio as well. So all details on that you can find on our website, planetalkinguk.com.
Thank you, Nev. And quick round robin, what's everyone up to next week? We'll start off with Andy. What are you up to next week? Are you back with us, Andy, next week?
I will be back next week from the hotel studio, as I am instructing on god awful 5 a.m. slots next week.
Oh, is that the Gatwick studio?
The Gatwick hotel studio, yes.
Yes. You're quite a fan of that particular studio, Andy. They give you your own special room now as well.
It's got the point where they know me by name now in that hotel, which is depressing. But yeah.
Well, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. So, more sim stuff for you then, Andy, next week, which will be fun.
Yeah.
Good. Nev, what's going on in the world of Mr. Bounds next week?
Well, a bit of flying next week, I'm pleased to say. About time too. Heathrow to Edinburgh on Wednesday morning, doing a couple of days there, and then back to Heathrow, then straight back out to Dublin for a couple of days. And our good friend Alan White is picking myself and my colleague up from Dublin Airport, Terminal 2, which I'm delighted about, and thanks very much indeed to Alan for doing that. I've got his gift of many months ago, a Rode microphone, if you remember, so I'm actually going to take that with me. And he's going to give us some calendars in return, which is very nice of him, from Shay, Pardy and the team at Simtech as well, which will be brilliant. So I shall be bringing a few of those back with me on Saturday morning. So that'll be nice. But yeah, a bit of a tight connection between landing at Heathrow and going back out to Dublin again. So let's see how that goes. We don't want any funny business with weather or ops or IT business going on. So we'll see how we do. Gnats, yeah, or rats.
I'll tell you what.
And I'm not talking about the Ram Air turbine either. I'm talking about those four-legged ones.
I'll tell you what, Nev. If anyone could give us a really, really good review of a particular route within Europe or the UK, that would be you for the Heathrow to Edinburgh route. I think you must. Yeah, you must be. Yeah. You must be the man to ask about anything about that route.
I do see not the same crew, but I do see familiar faces on that route quite a bit, I must say. So, well, not to say we're on first name terms, but yeah, well, I do see familiar faces on there. But yeah, then back out to Dublin, doing some work out there, and then go to one of our customers' Christmas parties on the Friday evening of next week, and that's going to be difficult, I think, because I've got a flight back on Saturday morning, so don't overdo it, do we? So
we've all missed a flight after a party now.
Well, I know you have, but I haven't yet. So let's see how we get on. But no, looking forward to it, I must say. And yeah, let's see how we do. I shan't be on the show, I'm afraid, on Wednesday of next week, so I shall be in Edinburgh, building or helping to build this show up for our exhibition on Thursday up there.
Do you not have guys do that for you, Nev? I thought you'd have like.
I do have. Yes, my people do that, but I have to chip in and do some as well. Yeah, so I'll be doing that. It's just a one-day event on Thursday at the Edinburgh Assembly Rooms. Nice as though they are, the load in and load out is appalling in terms of access, cars, vans. It's just not funny. So we did that show last year, and we're going to do it again next week as well. So we'll see how we get on.
Well, I'll tell you what, Nev, I hope the weather is better than it has been for the last few days. I know we haven't. Well, we had a few tiny flakes here in Suffolk today, but not as much as what you guys have had. I don't know how much you've had, Andy, of snow as it's all starting here in the UK.
Not too much up here. It's just very, very, very cold.
Yes. Nev,
Yeah,
you had a bit.
we had quite a lot of snow yesterday morning, and then then it became very cold. So actually, it was too cold for snow at that point. So it did stop, but it just all froze overnight. So it was quite chilly today. -3 when I was going to say when I started the car, but I don't think you do start the car. Well, it does start eventually, but you press the button and you do first sort of half mile on battery, and then the engine starts. So yeah,
Wow.
there we go. So
I'll tell you what, Nev, I do love that heated steering wheel thing that I have now. It's the best thing ever invented, I think. Heated steering wheels.
yes, I think the on this version of the car, I had a heated steering wheel and I had heated seats on the last car. But on this car, this has got 3 settings, the same as the other car. But even on the first setting, it is burning your bottom. I've not tried it on setting 2 or 3 yet for being concerned about having to go to A&E. Yeah.
Explain that one.
I was going to say, yeah, that there's lots of, I'm sure A&E have a lot of people that turn up with things happening to them that they really shouldn't be happening. But no, I'm going to leave setting 2 and 3 alone just for the time being until I've worked out how hot that is.
Of course, Andy doesn't have to worry about this with he's chauffeur driven everywhere around.
Oh, what? Yeah, I am. It's called a train, first class. I am chauffeur driven around.
And on that bombshell, right, it's time to wrap up the show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in this evening, I should say, this Wednesday evening for episode 528. We'll be back next week, hopefully on time, and broadcasting with audio as well this time, all fingers being crossed. But thanks to everyone who's tuned in this evening. Great to have you all with us in the chat room as well. Great to see everyone in there. So that's it for the show. Have a great rest of the week and enjoy yourselves this weekend. Make sure you stay safe. Stay warm if you're here in the UK especially. And last word from you, Mr. Bounds, as you're not here next week.
Yeah, well, thanks very much indeed, everybody, for joining this week. Really a lot of fun. Lots of comments on the chat room, some which I can't actually read out, but they were very funny indeed. So thanks for doing that. Hope you have a good weekend, a good week, and the team will be back same time next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Well, we managed it in the end.
I don't know if there's something wrong with the theme that was being played out, like 2 versions of it together, but one slightly behind the other. I don't know if anybody in the chat room picked that up. Yeah, so a bit of
didn't know. It sounded right this end, but obviously
on YouTube it was definitely not playing correctly. So
is Matt back next week?
Oh yes, Andy. Oh dear.
Oh,
do you know? I just had a message from our station boss at Park. He just said that because we're supposed to be doing a Christmas light switch on here in Bungay this weekend on Saturday, it's been cancelled because they're worried about the weather being bad. So I thought I'll have a look on AccuWeather, and the forecast for Saturday here is 12 degrees and a bit of rain. I mean,
well, Darren's in Norway, so I don't think they would cancel a thing judging by the weather they've got up there, or they have up there. So, yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah. I thought the weather looked quite nice for this weekend. But...
Yes, no, it's warming up. But it's going to be very windy, though. That's the thing. So
Not up here. It's going to snow on Saturday up here.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah.
Can't beat a bit of snow. No snow
Yes, you
forecast here.
You can beat a bit of snow. 27 degrees, clear skies, on a beach with some form of alcoholic beverage in your hand.
There is talk online that possibly Ryanair are going to be adding another few destinations next year for the summer period from Norwich, and one of them is, I think they're toying on the idea of somewhere like, the Canary Islands, down Lanzarote, Tenerife kind of thing.
What's the length of the runway at Norwich?
I was just about to ask the same question, actually.
Pass. Let me just have. I'll soon tell you. Bear with me. I'll look on my
about
other special app.
feet.
Bear with me. Bear with me. It is Norwich.
Mind you, they've got a
Norwich Airport.
737 Max doing it, I suppose. They've got a chance, haven't they, I suppose?
That's the winds. Don't want the winds.
Don't forget to put your camera back on.
Oh, sorry. Well, I'd like to see you, Andy,
It's an 1,800-metre runway.
Oh, thank you.
No chance. No chance, mate. Are you getting that distance?
Oh, that's not going to happen then.
Oh.
Not unless it's extremely cold in Norwich.
Yes. Extremely dense air.
God.
In the middle of summer.
Oh, perhaps not then. Oh, let's knock that idea on the head then.
Talk is talk, isn't it?
Well, that's Fuerteventura and the Canaries generally is a 4-hour flight.
4 hours,
bit,
yeah.
isn't it? So,
Yeah. And you're going to want to lift as much as you can.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame then. They'll have to extend the runway. And
Good luck.
To be fair, at one end they have got plenty of scope for that if they wanted to. Not the airport side end, but the other end of the runway where the storage area is for aircraft. There is a bit of fieldage.
Nice, but then you have the problem of NIMBYs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just over 6,000 feet at Norwich. So that's just slightly longer than Gibraltar at 6,000 and Jersey at 5,500 or something, isn't it? So, yeah, that's going to need a big old launch, isn't it, to get it off the deck.
Many moons ago, me and my dad flew into Bergerac Airport, and I tell you what, that was an experience and a half. A real experience and a half. Yeah. But obviously, nothing will compare to the brake, dust, and tyre smelling landing that we had at Jersey, Nev.
Oh yeah, that was a classic, wasn't it?
Well, when you ever land at Jersey, you've got to get the anchors on pretty damn quick.
Well, we didn't really, and actually, although we touched down, I think we touched down well within the touchdown zone, and spoilers came up nicely, and reverse came on as you'd expect to. I presume, do you think it's an auto brake landing?
What were you on?
319.
319.
Oh yeah, so it'll be an auto brake medium.
Yeah, well,
which is on the old standard of computer, it comes in a little bit late, but it comes in very hard.
Yeah, I would confirm both of those statements.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that the fellas were standing on it towards the end of the runway.
Yeah. To be fair, I've had to do that a few times in Jersey where medium auto brakes booted in, and I've thought, I'm not sure about this, so I've taken over max manual braking.
Yeah.
But it would work. But it's just especially when you land on the westerly there, 2.6, you're just running towards a cliff.
Yes.
And it's a psychological thing of, I don't like this. So I'll stand on the brakes myself.
Yeah. Well, our chum, John Falk, that we met on the aircraft was on there as well. Wasn't
Yes,
so
yeah.
We all looked at each other exactly the same time as we sort of came down to the last, 30 knots or so. And we literally just made the turn off. at the
Yeah.
right at the end. But to go back to the
There's
stand.
no airs and graces in Jersey. You make sure that the Dunlops are firmly on terra firma, max reverse, and as much braking as you can. Especially in a 319's right. A 320 has a bit more inertia, so you've got to really give that some.
Mm.
And for us, it's captain's only as well.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Just out of interest, Andy, before we head off, where in Europe is like we talk about the shortest runways and the ones you have to anchor up fast on, but which airport or which runway in Europe is like the one that you sort of think, well, we can, doesn't really matter, just brake whenever we wish because the runway is so ridiculously long?
Oh my god! Well, if you got a 3K runway, it's just about like Manchester's fine. Madrid. One of the runways at Madrid is so blooming long. You don't even bother with auto brake on them. There's a few places like that. Amsterdam, 18 right, Amsterdam, Polderboom. Don't bother with auto brake there because you want to get that at Victor. There's the exits there, Victor 1, 2, and 3, and hopefully if ATC are nice to let you roll to Victor 3. If not, come off at Victor 2. So just don't bother with any auto brake there.
Wow. There we go. Answered my question. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
Right, we better let these people head off into the yonder, deep blue yonder. Last words as you're off next week, Nev. Last words from you this week.
Oh, thank you. Just one last thing about the Polderbarn approach. I flew into that runway soon after it was completed some years ago, and on the way down, I thought, I wouldn't mind using the loo at some point. And as we touched down, there was another 25 minutes worth of taxiing at what felt like about 30 knots. And I was breaking my neck by the time we actually got to the stand and eventually got off the aircraft. But that's a long old taxiing, isn't it? No two ways about it.
It's longer than the flight sometimes.
Yeah, felt like it. Anyway, enough about that. Thank you very much indeed for watching and listening. And sorry about the technical bits we had at the start of the show, but all be back to normal next week. Hope you have a great week and weekend, and we'll see you next week. All the best. Bye for now.